The Deep Six. 6 stories from your world in 30 minutes or less. Hosted by Patty Steele and Steve Cochran. The Deep Six is on.
This is another action-packed, thrilling edition of The Deep Six. Hello, Patty Steele in New York.
Are you sure it's going to be action-packed? That's all I want to know.
It's a good way to hype it, even if we are sitting.
That's right. No action, all talk.
I am Steve Cochran in
guy.
Chicago. And together, we, as very, very good friends, bring you 6 stories and our take on them. This is what we've done throughout our careers. We've brought you the news in various radio stations and places around the country. Mm-hmm. So we don't really think we're experts on it. We just think we have an entertaining perspective, and we hope you like it.
And we pretend to be experts.
Oh, well, sure. That's
Why not?
That's how you have the career. All right. We usually start off with entertainment, and I believe you have a story about one of my favorite actresses.
The Deep Six. Story number 1.
Sandra Bullock. She's one of everybody's favorite actresses. She's the girl next door and incredibly lovable. In fact, so lovable that a lot of other celebrities find her lovable as well. So we were talking about the fact that she's been through a bunch of relationships. Once she was engaged to Tate Donovan. She dated a football player, Troy Aikman. Then she went back to more actors, Matthew McConaughey, Ryan Gosling. All of those fizzled. Then she married Monster Garage host Jesse James. I thought that was so weird when she did that right off the bat.
I think that was a nightmare, right?
Yeah, and he just didn't look like they just didn't look right together, and it didn't end well. Because all these women started coming forward, several years in. They were married for maybe even as much as 8 years. But all these women started coming forward saying that they'd had affairs with Jesse while he was married to Sandra, and she, didn't feel so good about that. So they busted up, and then finally, in 2015. She goes to a kiddie birthday party with one of her children, and the guy doing the photography at the kiddie birthday party, he's like taking pictures of the birthday boy or girl and, all of that kind of stuff. They started chatting, and they have literally been together ever since. She's been very quiet about it.
Story.
It's a great story. I think they adopted a child together, or maybe she had right at the same time that they met up. And he's been a wonderful hands-on dad to her children and his children, I guess. And it's just it's a lovely story. And I think the moral of the story is stay away. If you're a celebrity, stay away from other celebrities, because there's always that sort of game of one-upsmanship and.
Sure. Now, did you ever have a phase in your life, or maybe it's today, where you're attracted to the dirty guy with the tattoos?
I don't.
Because I got to say, I never did. I never had that phase.
A dirty girl with tattoos or guy. No, I can't say that I was. I had a few times when I weirdly would go off record and date somebody who's very different from other people I dated, but I quickly corrected and went back to the standard MO.
Right. And congratulations if that's what you're into. That's fine. I mean, Pete Davidson seems like a nice guy. He's got more tats than anyone on the planet.
Well, there's another one. Yeah, Pete Davidson, very odd guy. We were talking about the fact that he's got tattoos, and we noticed that when he sent that selfie to Kanye West and said, I'm in bed with your wife. He had this like creepy, it almost looked like somebody used a magic marker and wrote, Kim on amidst all his other tattoos. But it was like not well done and creepy looking. And so then she was on with Ellen, and she said, well, guess what? Not a tattoo. She said, what do you mean? She said, well, I told him that, he's got a million tattoos from all these relationships he's had. So not special. So he decided to make it special, and he went out and had himself branded. So her name is burned into his chest.
Is that legal? I mean, who's branding? I haven't driven by a strip mall lately and said, brand yourself here. Is that what tattoo artists do?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if tattoo artists do it. Somebody does it because he's got one, and he's apparently removing a bunch of tattoos. And he said, but this one can never be removed. And so that's what makes it so special. However, not true, because you could have it cut out and your skin stitched up, I guess. And that would,
And depending on how the end of the relationship goes, you may want to have that part of your body removed. No, look, here's hoping he's happy, she's happy. That's all well and good. But, I knew Tom Arnold and Roseanne back in the day when Tom
Right.
had Roseanne tattooed on his butt. That was a very painful removal.
Right.
It just, generally speaking, isn't a good idea. I've told you before, my dad had True Love to Audrey on his forearm.
And your
He was
mom's
married
name
to
was?
Sonia.
Yes.
For 45 years. It's just generally not a good idea, no matter how much fun you're having in the beginning. But I got you off track. So Channing Tatum is in this picture somehow with Sandra Bullock.
Oh, so if we go back to them, yeah, Channing Tatum now is in a movie with Sandra Bullock, and it's kind of funny how they met. Apparently, their kids got into a fight at school. You know, kids do that, and then they call you in,
Yeah.
the parents, and you sit there and you try to work it out with the kids. And they started talking, and they became friendly. Did not date. I'll give them that. They became friendly and wound up doing this movie together that looks really cool. It's called The Lost City. And it got me to thinking, pretty much as we become adults and we have kids and stuff, that's how you meet most of your closest friends.
True story.
Yeah,
Yep.
you go to the PTA, you go to these like kiddie plays in kindergarten, things like that, and you meet your friends and they become, you share so much that you become lifelong friends. And once you don't have kids in the house, it's like, how the hell do I meet people? Do I have to go back to bars to meet people? But what's interesting is in Hollywood, it's not only about making friends that way, it's also about social climbing and it's about business. Deals get done when parents know each other and spend time together. And then they can, hey, by the way, I hear you're working on a blah, blah, blah,
Well, what was the movie with the blue people with James Cameron?
Avatar?
Avatar. That was actually done over a T-ball game. So you're not wrong. It was all. So those deals
For
do
$1
get
billion.
But what you're talking about too with Channing Tatum and Sandra Bullock was a Friends script. Do you remember that where Phoebe pretended that she was the little Ross's son's mother because she wanted to meet Sting and went into Sting's house. So, but at any rate, Channing Tatum, Sandra Bullock, you're hearing good things about that movie?
I'm hearing great things. It's got an 84 on Rotten Tomatoes. There's a very funny scene because Brad Pitt is in this, and Brad Pitt plays like this guy model who's on the cover of like romance novels.
Mm-hmm.
And at one point, Sandra Bullock looks at him because she's a writer of these novels, and she goes, "Man, you were like crazy handsome. How did that happen?" And he said, "My dad was a weatherman."
That's a great line.
That's
a great line. Yeah, depending on your market, that could very well be true.
Yeah.
Right. All right. Now, talking about big shot celebrities in Hollywood and a whole bunch of money, are we worried about what Ellen's going to do with her time after her show goes away?
Not at all, because there's nothing she likes better than buying houses. In the last 20 years, she's bought like 23, 24 houses in LA. Last year, she bought a $50 million mansion in Montecito. And so she decided she needed a little getaway spot in the same neighborhood. And she just bought a $27 million house there. And she's not selling the other one. It's 12,000 square feet, but weirdly only has 3 bedrooms in it, but it does have a nice pool.
But each one is the size of a suburban mall.
Exactly. I don't know why they need all those houses, but I wondered about that. And I read a really sweet story about it. Ellen said that when she was a kid growing up, her family could never afford a house. So they lived in rented apartments. And she said, we would drive around and I would look at houses, little houses with for sale signs on them. And she said, and I would just wish and wish and wish we could have a house. And she said, so when I started to make some money, that's all I wanted to do was buy a house. And she said, now I just don't stop buying them. I see houses that need they're gorgeous. Clearly she's buying these anywhere from 10 to $50 million houses, but she likes to redo them. And then she resells them and she makes a pretty penny
she's
doing
not
it.
Swinging a hammer, right? Is she handy?
No, I think she just has a vision. She'll buy like anything from a mid-century modern to some old farmhouse to some Spanish mansions, Spanish style mansion
Well,
out
who
there.
wouldn't watch one of the, not that we need another rehab show, but who wouldn't watch a show next year with her and Portia arguing over whether or not the walk-in closet it should be bigger?
Right. Exactly.
No, I don't know.
So that got me to thinking that J-Lo and Ben Affleck just bought a house, and it's
Haven't
20,000.
they been back together for 10 minutes and they're buying a house already?
Yeah, but it's only $50 million. So,
Oh, okay. Sorry. I'll back
it's
up.
not, it's like if they need to get rid of it, they'll get rid of it. It's 20,000 square feet. It's in Bel Air. And here's the interesting part. It has 10 bedrooms, multiple kitchens, and 17 bathrooms. Like, I don't get, what do you do with 17 bathrooms?
That's got to be the worst case of IBS ever that spurred the architect to put that in.
That's what I was wondering. I was like, who puts you must have one person whose job it is to constantly fill each bathroom with toilet paper and towels and empty the garbage. I can't even imagine. You're like, oh gosh, I'm in bathroom number 14 and there's no paper in here. How do I tell people where I am and what I need? It's crazy. And I don't know.
Well, it is crazy too, because, when you think about, to me, anybody's house is almost like anybody's cable system. You watch 5 channels. You got 250, right. You watch 5 channels. Anybody's house, you spend your time in probably 3 rooms.
Well, it's true. Like
a family room, a kitchen.
The kitchen.
Obviously the bedroom, but maybe one other room, right?
Yeah, maybe.
So what are you doing with a house that size?
I don't know. I mean, they have kids between them. They have a number of kids. I don't know. I really don't know what you do, but I guess I don't know if they spent 50 million on it. I know the asking price on the house was 65 million. And maybe you just feel like if I'm going to spend 65 million, I better have 17 bathrooms.
Yeah, well, I suppose, right? But yeah. I guess I'd say, why not 18?
Right.
Why just stop at 17? Why not 18?
This is creepy. Where's my 30 bathrooms? I don't know.
And if you're looking at the final plans before they do the place and you go 17 bathrooms, is that enough, do you think, Ben?
Yeah, I don't 17? Know. Because I've got, what has he got? 3 kids from his marriage. She's got like 4 kids. So right. Wow, they're like the Brady Bunch, I guess. And they need a lot of bathrooms. And none of them should ever have to bang on the door and say, my turn.
Yeah, I suppose you're right about that. That's a great point. And also, I think you may have hit on the toilet paper resupply issue, because Alice, in your Brady Bunch scenario, she would be the one having to make sure the rolls were in the right places.
Oh, my Lord. She'd be running up and down the stairs all over the place all the time.
Well, see, I like J-Lo and I like Ben Affleck. I don't like Vladimir Putin, but since we're talking about big Hollywood money, right, and famous people, this is just another reason he should be put away for the rest of his life and stay there. His new yacht, one of several, could come out cost-wise as much as $1 billion.
Holy crap.
For a boat. The B in billion stands for boat. It's got your standard grand piano and sofas in the lounge. And by sofas, I mean like luxurious, rich Corinthian leather sofas. Because
they probably are 20 feet long.
Yeah, they're huge. Yeah. But it also has a tiled dance floor that drops down to become an indoor pool.
Wow, I want one of those.
They're on the boat, and they have an indoor pool that's hidden by the dance floor that they can turn into an indoor pool while they're on the boat.
Oh, man.
So just one of the ways to tell you have too much money. And this may be why he got.
I don't know. I kind of want that much money if I could, because that's very creative. I would like my own onboard pool that could also be a dance floor. I'm really digging that. I think.
Well, I'll talk to people. I'll talk to some people.
Problem is it's Putin. So
I'll call J-Lo's architect. He's big on putting those things in.
Yes.
And then this may be the reason Putin was so tight with Donald Trump. The super yacht also features gold toilet paper roll holders.
Wow. Who fills those?
Shield that comes down over the top. I never understood the shield, by the way, right? Because when you're in there by yourself, you don't need the fashion of the shield. You're just tearing the paper off, getting your business done and getting out of there.
Right. And I don't want to have to lift it, because who else has lifted it with dirty hands? I don't need that thing over it. I don't like that. I think, is this the boat that also has its own submarine that can drop down to like 150 feet?
Yeah, I believe so.
And it's got,
you need that as well.
It's got like ballistic missiles or something on it.
Sure. Yeah. Again, you need it. You absolutely need it.
Well, he does.
By the way, every time we talk about anything related to Putin, all of us, no matter what you're doing in the world, it just pisses you off. So how about a good news entertainment story to end this? You heard about Mackenzie Scott, Jeff Bezos' ex, right?
Yeah, like the most kind of perfect person. I don't know how he left her for that unusual woman he's with, but he did. And she has, I mean, she made billions and billions and billions of dollars in the divorce, and she deserved it.
Yes,
And she has, and now she's gotten remarried. It's so funny because she got remarried to one of her kids, fifth grade. I think he was like a social studies or science teacher, and they're both committed to her giving away all of this money. What's the organization that she's
it's called the
with?
Giving Pledge, and it's
Yeah.
for super billionaires pledging to give away, almost all of their money.
Yeah. I mean, she's given away in the last, since she started this project, I don't know how long ago. It wasn't that long ago that she started this. She's given away $12 billion. And just in the last 9 months, she's given away almost $4 billion.
Yeah, that's a lot of dough.
And she's still worth $55 billion.
And by the way, for people that go, oh, the divorce laws in this country, she didn't make the money. She was with Jeff Bezos when Amazon existed in their garage in Seattle.
She was one of the founders with him. And then
Exactly.
she, started raising kids while he built the business up. But yeah.
So,
Pretty amazing.
that in and of itself is a good story and a way for us to wrap up our entertainment segment and move on to item number 2.
The Deep Six. Number 2.
The guy that developed Starbucks, an innovator, he's no longer with the company. They have an idea. I don't like this idea.
Yeah. They, in an effort to be, they want to be, they're very kind of woke. They want to be more sustainable. Starbucks is planning to phase out disposable cups. Oh, you say that's great. No more garbage and blah, blah, blah. But here's the thing. They're going to begin testing a borrow a cup program in some locations. So in other words, like you get your cup and you walk out, maybe you go up to your office or whatever, and you've got this actual cup. You finish it. Now you got to carry it back downstairs. You hand it back in and they go, oh yeah, we'll wash it and give it to somebody else. Do they wash it? I don't know.
Hold on a second. So this is like, you think about where you work, the nasty kitchenette area that everybody shares.
Yes.
And there's 2 or 3 coffee cups there because people use them on a day-to-day basis, right?
Right.
And they got the nasty residue in the bottom of them.
Right.
We're in the post-COVID era.
And now it's borrow a cup.
Last thing you want is somebody else's cooties, and Starbucks is going to this?
Yeah, like I want to know all about the sanitization. Is that a word?
Sure.
Sanitizing them. I think I'm also going to ask, are you actually borrowing it, or are they going to charge you a deposit that you get back when you bring it back? And what if you don't bring it back, or what if you break it? Then what happens?
Well, Lord knows
you broke our cup.
The price of the cup of coffee isn't high enough. They do need to cover that for sure.
Now, they say by the end of next year, you also have the option of bringing your own reusable cup to every Starbucks in the US. And you can even do it when you order ahead or at the drive-through. So clearly, if you order ahead, they don't like pour the coffee into nothing. You have to show up and hand it to them.
But that's the thing too, right? I don't want to be America's germaphobe, but I'm bringing my cup from home. You don't know what I have or don't have.
Right.
I'm handing it to you, innocent Starbucks barista.
Right.
So you can put the coffee in it. Well, now I'm going to give you whatever funk I have on me.
Yeah, we're backwashing the cup from your earlier cup of coffee. I think this is all a really bad idea.
It's a bad idea. As is kind of an anecdotal story you told me before we started today. This is about eating in bed, right?
Yeah, well, actually, here's the interesting thing. There's always a study for almost anything you can think of. Somebody's done a study. So they were asking people, like, when you have some kind of a snack attack, what is it and where is it that you want to eat? So what they found in this new study of 2,000 adults is that eating in bed is still the top spot to snack if you're trying to sneak food. Now, I think that's really I don't like eating in bed. I don't, because then I snuggle down to go to sleep and there's crumbs and grease and all kinds of crap. I have no interest in that. But they also say that 1 in 5 people like to sneak a treat in the bathroom.
What?
Once again, yuck. Bring
Wait a
your
minute.
borrow a cup into the bathroom.
Why would sneak a treat? In other words, because the other person you're sleeping
maybe
with
you're
is
just
telling
wanting
you
to-
to diet or something, and they don't want you
You just want to you just kind of want to grab something and go enjoy it and not have
in
anybody
the bathroom.
judging. Yeah. And once again, that takes me back to the borrow a cup. People are eating in bathrooms and eating in their beds and getting mung all over everything. And 18%, by the way, of those people confess to eating while on the toilet.
Oh my God. Let me tell you something. I apologize for my religious moment there, but if you're eating while you're sitting in there, you, my friend, have a problem.
You do have a problem.
You need to get some air. You need to go take a walk. You need to go outside, see the world.
But if you're not out of toilet paper, make sure you clean up first. Now,
Hey, wait.
yeah.
17 bathrooms.
Yes.
Maybe 8, 9, 10 of those are for eating.
Maybe so. Maybe they have a vending machine in those bathrooms because they can. And the last part of that study, by the way, 1 in 5 people asked also admit to picking a piece of food out of the garbage, which still looked, in air quotes, perfectly fine.
Did they only talk to George Costanza? Was that the only person they talked to?
That looks perfectly fine. Hello, because you can't see cooties. They're invisible.
All right, let's just think quickly. 3 worst foods to eat in bed. See if you agree. Barbecued ribs.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
I just threw up in my mouth.
Yeah. Corn shell tacos, right? Yeah.
Corn shell.
Yeah. Or how about powdered donuts? All bad ideas. Yeah.
All bad ideas. Asparagus, fine.
Except for what happens afterwards,
Right.
doesn't end well.
The Deep Six.
Item number 3.
Yes.
Are we done with the era of going out to a movie? I know the theaters are open and they're making a bit of a comeback, but is the event of going to a movie, is that era gone now?
The event of going to a movie ended quite a while ago, sir.
Even before
Beautiful
COVID.
theaters years ago have turned into these little micro theaters with sticky seats and you talk about garbage and cooties under the seats. I think that the era of going to the movies is going to come back because the only way they'll get people back is to make it a special event. And I think that includes, I go to 2 theaters around here and I'm back going to them, I'll admit. One of them I go to because it's mostly like these really great little independent films, and the theater, while small, is really nice and clean, and no one goes through my purse enough to realize that I'm sneaking in a little tiny bottle of wine. So I can enjoy that while I'm there. The other one that I go to is one of these, they call them like a spoon and fork. It's, you go in, your feet go up in the air, you push a little button, somebody comes over and says, "What can I get you?" And you get a really incredibly expensive little hamburger and like a, $40 glass of wine, but you feel special and you can sit there and enjoy it. And I kind of, it's not that expensive, but I really love sort of the event of going out when it's a nice place and you have that giant screen and you're away from the distractions of phones and people knocking on the door and people in the house you don't want to talk to.
Yep. I totally agree. And for dating purposes, there is a federal law, of course, that one of your first 3 dates needs to be going to a movie. And
where you slip your arm around.
Yeah. Because you can Netflix and chill afterwards, but it doesn't necessarily happen first night out.
Now, I know that there's a guy who runs Sony Pictures Classics. His name's Tom Bernard. And he said he would also like to see like major theater chains put together special offers, like bring a friend back to the movies for free. So it's 2 tickets for the price of 1. Or he said like maybe Tuesday night movie discounts, since that's a night that a lot of people don't go out to the movies.
Good idea.
He said, honestly, seeing a movie on the big screen, you realize when you're back in there is so much better than watching it on your TV.
Yeah.
And so I think they'll be back.
Well, I'll tell you what'll get me coming back. Free Twizzlers. The Twizzlers. Yep. Love the Twizzlers. Won't eat them in bed, but you get me free Twizzlers. I'll show up for any crappy movie you want to show me.
I love it.
The Deep Six. Number 4.
There are surveys, like there are studies that go on constantly, but we don't hear the word happiness much in the current world we live in.
It's not in our vernacular very
This is
much.
a happiness index that's out, right?
Yeah, it's the World Happiness Report. It's released once a year, and it was recently released. And here's the weird thing. The US actually moved up 3 spots from last year. Last year, we were 19th
Really?
happiest in the world. We are now 16th happiest in the world of 146 countries. Now, here's the thing I will say. I think the sadness factor all over the world has gone up. And so maybe somehow by default, we popped up 3. Even if we're not happier, we're happier than the vast majority. And I don't know if that's it. But
I
they
hope it's true. I guess I'm surprised we were 16th. I thought we might have been a little higher. But yeah, like you, I can't think of a whole lot of people who've been whistling a tune and zippity doo-dah for the last couple of years.
Yeah, I feel so free. What do you think was the happiest country in the world?
Isn't it usually like Sweden? Isn't
Well,
Sweden always
you know
happy?
what's interesting? You're onto something. Sweden is not among the top 5,
Wow.
but it's that same part of the way. It's those happy Scandinavians.
Wait. Finland.
Finland, absolutely.
That was number 1. Wow.
That was number 1. Who do you think second?
Same region, Norway.
Nope, Denmark.
Well, they're right next door.
Iceland is number 3.
Iceland,
Then we go.
there's nothing there.
Well, it's actually really beautiful, but maybe that's why they're happy because
If you get outside of Reykjavik, you better have yourself a penguin because they're the only ones that know their way around.
And then Switzerland came in 4th. That's because they don't commit to anything, including unhappiness. The Netherlands came in 5th place. I get that because they smoke a lot of pot and they're just easygoing. And then finally, you have Luxembourg, Sweden, Norway, Israel, and New Zealand in 10th place.
Now, New Zealand, I get. Israel surprises me, but I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah. It's interesting. So they say that they found social support, generosity to one another, and honesty in government are crucial for feeling good.
I'm guessing, not to bring it up Putin again, but I'm guessing Russia didn't rate that well.
Yeah, I can't see to the bottom of the list, so I'm not.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe it's 150 countries or whatever.
Plus, nobody can tell us how they feel there right now. So who knows?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
The Deep Six. Number 5.
One of the things that doctors will tell you all the time that can make you more happy is if you get off the screen, stop staring at your phone, stop staring at your iPad, your computers, whatever the case may be.
It's stressful. Yeah.
And maybe go a little bit retro. So I thought this was an interesting story. We know that record players made their comeback probably in the last 10 years or so, maybe 5. But you could actually go out and buy record players, and kids do this all the time. And they look at their parents and go, I don't think you've heard of this, but you put this circular thing on here and you play something called a record. But record players are obviously already back. How about this? Landline phones are making a comeback.
Real. You know what? I never got rid of mine, although I never, ever, ever answer it because it's always a spam call. But I always think, what happens if the cell phone grid, there's like a solar flare or Putin does his threatened, shutting us down? I want to know that plus, here's the thing about a landline. I even have one corded phone in my house because if the electricity goes out, I can still make a phone call. How cool is that?
I got to move in with you and your husband because it sounds like you're ready for the end of the world.
I am. I'm always planning ahead.
But these landline phones, one of the reasons they've come back is because they're stylized in a lot of ways. And people who have these, they've got like bright colors. They've got encrusted dialing rotary turners on them.
Oh, okay. So it's like a Kardashian landline.
Yeah, to some extent. But they say the one reason is if you make a call on a landline, you're committed to the phone call. Now, I get this. Because how many times in a day do you talk to somebody on the phone, if you can get somebody on the phone, and you can so hear in their voice, they have no interest in being on the phone with you at that point.
Right.
They're
then suddenly their phone
texting.
craps out.
Yeah. So they're saying having my old phone as an object in my house, it's a bit of an identity thing. Yeah, to some extent, but I like the idea of actually picking up the phone, making an effort to dial and listening to the person on the other end because I really wanted to talk to them.
That's kind of very sweet. I like that sentiment. I don't know.
All right, so let me ask you a flip side question.
I mean, because you
on that.
could have your hand on your other hand on your cell phone and still flip while you're on
Yeah.
your landline.
Yeah, it takes a while to get off the habit. But here's my question for you. If you can think of all the technology that's blown up in the last 20 years, 30 at the max, is there one thing that's come along that you like to see go away?
Oh, that's
And it's
such a
not
hard-
just the cell phone thing we're talking about here, because we're not talking about cell phones going away. We're just talking about landlines coming back.
Right.
I've got one to help you.
Okay.
Email.
Oh God, yeah, man,
Email.
isn't that the bane of everyone's existence?
Email is ridiculous. Email was supposed to make our lives easier.
No,
Really?
no, it's thousands. You get thousands of things all the time to the point where you can't keep up with it.
I'm done with email.
And I'm not lying. Right now, I'm going to my email, and I will tell you that I have in my new email unread. I have exactly, come on, baby. I have 248,281 unread messages.
I don't doubt that at all. I don't doubt it at all.
Never get rid of them.
No, they're like barnacles. They attach to you.
And then I figure, well, okay, I could sit here and I could take an inordinate amount of time getting rid of 75 of them. Big deal when you have 250,000 emails. And everybody says, well, just clean out the whole box. Well, I can't tell you how often I've needed to go back. Somebody will say, well, I remember telling you back in October, blah, blah, blah. And
It
I'll
becomes
say,
a filing cabinet.
oh, let me go call up that email. Yes, here it is. No, that's not what you said.
Right.
Got him.
No, 100%. But bye-bye email. All right. So I took email. What's yours? Piece of technology. You'd be happy if it was gone.
Well, that's very hard because my first inclination is I get really upset with the entire internet because I feel like we're all stressed out messes because we see and hear too much and we're bombarded all the time with it. At the same time, there's nothing I revel in more, you know me as a history lover, to be reading, like I'll be reading a book. I read a lot of Lincoln and they'll mention a name and I'll say, oh, I want to, and I'll go and I'll Google that. And that'll take me down these like rabbit holes. And the next thing you know, I'm like way deep into, history going 200 years before Lincoln or whatever.
Sure. Well,
So,
I'm with you on that. So maybe we just occasionally shut the internet off, like no internet Wednesdays. I don't know,
let's do away with toilets.
But again, we're right back in J-Lo and Ben's house.
There
If
you
you
go.
do away with toilets, what are we doing with the rooms?
That'll show them.
The Deep Six. Number 6.
There's just a spate of old folks news this week.
Oh my
Not
God.
all of it good, but all of it interesting. What do you have?
Well, imagine this. At 97 years old, Francis Smith is no longer behind bars in Connecticut. This guy has been in prison since 1950. In 1949, he killed somebody in Greenwich, Connecticut, and they plopped him into jail. He is the longest serving prisoner in Connecticut. Now, I will say he had a brief escape in 1967, which probably didn't make them happy with him. And then they gave him a very short parole in the 1970s, but he must have done something wrong. And so they put him right back in. And he's now served well over 70 years. And they finally paroled him to a nursing home because he's kind of lost it a bit.
I got to tell you, if he is with it on any level, that would really piss me off because, maybe he served his time, maybe he hasn't. Taken a life, he should spend the rest of his life in prison. But at this point, how much longer could that take? And you know how old people like their routines?
Yeah.
This guy is being turned out to the world.
Yeah, well, he's being turned out to a nursing home, but it's a different bed than he's used to, and a different toilet. As long as we're talking toilets, it's all it's different people around him. So yeah,
maybe he was such a terrible person. They're going, the prison system deserves better than this. I just feel for the people in the nursing home. And by the way, we should say this too. God bless everybody that takes care of the senior community on all levels, because this country keeps getting older and older and older.
Yeah.
And we have underpaid, underappreciated people doing that work every day.
Oh
So
God.
thank you
And
for
they're
that.
and when you go like to visit a relative or something or someone you knew, you see just the vast majority of them, of the people that work there are they're just special people. They're very
Right.
loving. I remember with my parents, just the kindest. They would tell me stories when my parents died. They would, just regale me with great stories,
Sure.
warm stories about my parents. And it made you feel good that there were people that did that not just for a living, but because they really felt compassion and love for older people. And that I thought was really special.
I've got an old guy you're going to like.
Okay.
And it sounds funny, but 76 doesn't seem that old anymore.
It's like we're talking about 97 years old. Yeah, 76. He's a baby.
Dick Schultz is his name. He is the world's oldest competitive snowboarder. This is an LA Times story.
Wow.
And Dick Schultz literally competed against Shaun White when he was trying to qualify for the Olympics in Shaun White's first games. But he still competes at 76 with guys that are decades younger than he is. And he says he hopes to keep going until he's 100 years old. He said there's a quote from Dick Schultz. He says there's something very sensual about the way a snowboard moves. That's why.
You know what? That's that. But that tells you why because it's that feeling. It's not just about, the skill and trying to beat somebody. And it's that he literally, it sounds to me like he merges with the snowboard and the snow, and that it's like a great dancer.
Yeah.
They're completely at one with this movement and with what they're doing. And
and here's the thing.
beautiful thing.
He's not just a dirty old man. He's a dirty old snowboarder.
Exactly.
Him and his sensual snow. But bring me home on this. Give me one about somebody that made the century mark.
I love this guy. This guy had to drop out of high school because his single mom needed him to work. But Merrill Pittman Cooper thought it was about time he got his diploma, I guess so he could make something of his life.
Right.
He dropped out of school as a senior in Harpers Ferry, West Virginia in 1938. Now, at the age of 101, he just graduated. He said back in 2018, he went back to Harpers Ferry and he visited his little school. It was a little tiny school. And he said the one thing he realized is how much he had regretted all his life not getting that diploma, because he was in the middle of his senior year, but he didn't have a choice.
Sure.
So they took heart. They went to him with a ceremony. The superintendent of schools there said, Jefferson County Schools is committed to helping every student, young or old, fulfill their dreams. For Mr. Cooper, that meant receiving a high school diploma. We are honored to help make that dream a reality.
It's very cool.
Very sweet. Very sweet.
It's very, very cool. And like everyone else, he won't be able to find that diploma in a few years when he's 110.
But he probably won't need it.
Yeah, I suppose so. Patty, you're great as always. I love doing the Deep Six with you.
I love doing it with you too, baby.
So here's the thing. Tell your friends. Let them know the Deep Six is right where you found us. And we got exciting Deep Six news coming soon. I can't tell you exactly when, but
yes,
soon.
We do. Yeah. And by the way, speaking of your friends, if you have to, tie them up and make them listen, because that's all it'll take, one time, and then you can loosen the restraints and they'll continue to listen. I know that.
It's the perfect visual to end this episode. Thanks for listening to the Deep Six, Patty. I'll see you next time.
Love you. Love you for listening too. Bye.
Thanks for listening. The Deep Six. Subscribe, rate, follow, or review at pattysteele.com or cochranshow.com.